I spent 2 hours talking to the legendary trailer maker Derek Lieu, who has made countless of amazing trailers for high-profile indie games like Subnautica, or has even contributed to some AAA game trailers like the one for Half-Life Alyx.
I'm gonna head inside, find a way out. Got it.
I asked you to send me some of your indie game trailers, so in this video Derek and me will have a look at them. Just for fun, we'll also review the Karlson trailer by Danny. Consider this video the ultimate introduction into trailer making for indie games. Turned out to be a little bit of a longer one, so lean back, get a cup of tea, and enjoy.
So why should you care about your game trailer? If you're asking that question, then you need your trailer more than anyone else, because if you're asking that, that probably means that you're not doing any other marketing. And if that's the case, then the trailer is probably going to be the bare minimum that you need for your marketing. You just need some way of showing people what your game is in a really, really short period of time.
One thing you also brought up I think in one of your GDC talks that was where you said that more people will probably see your game footage than play your game. So that's another really fun way to look at that, right?
Yeah, fun or sad.
In a very fruitful world, a strawberry tossed from his bush.
Overall, I thought it was pretty good. One thing I'll say about this trailer is that it is optimized for mobile in a way, because even though everything is spoken and narrated, the text is on screen, so you can watch this muted, which is a good thing. So in the beginning here, we have the logo, game by Snuffty? I think it's Snooty.
Hard to tell, yeah.
But because you have it integrated into gameplay, you know, I'm not gonna make a fuss about this, so that's good.
Yeah.
This game trailer feels like it's very narrative focused, but the game itself looks like it's sort of like very gamey.
His family scattered. Traveling through the seasons. To find his purpose in life.
You know, I'm sure the story has an effect on the game, but this isn't like, you know, Gone Home, where we're more really concerned about the story as opposed to the mechanics. Purely gameplay-wise, the only thing I get from this is it's a platformer with a strawberry. That's not a whole lot. I will say I do like this transition here. It does a pretty good job of showing a little bit of variety of the platforming, but I don't know either what the goal is or why the platforming is interesting.
At the very least, it's no information overload. Like all of the shots are pretty clear and simple for the most part, right?
Yeah, it's clear, which clear is good. I always say clear is better than having too much, because a lot of people just try to cram everything into their game trailer. But just a little bit light on the content and clarity in terms of what you do, why you're doing it, why that's interesting.
Derek has an entire YouTube channel dedicated to the art of making trailers, by the way, so I was really hoping we could send him some new subscribers. He also watches game trailers on Twitch every week, so this was definitely not your last chance to get some feedback from him.
My first impression of this one is, I think you need to go lighter on the glitching. It's really uncomfortable to watch. I think the messaging in terms of the text is pretty okay. There's a little bit of overload in this trailer because there's a lot of text you have to read, there's a lot of things going on the bottom, and also sometimes you have HUD elements. Also, there's no game audio. Is your game audio not done yet? Is it in progress or something like that? Whenever you have a game trailer which is music and no sound effects whatsoever, it sort of flattens out the whole trailer. It just makes it a little monotonous, whereas the game audio, you can think of it as like percussions, like nice little kind of audio, like flavor crystals every now and then. It's like, oh, that's cool, that sounds good.
One problem a lot of people run into is that they record their game with music, right? And then they just have to mute everything.
I've heard that before, and then I tell people, so recapture everything. That's what you have to do. Making trailers is a lot of work. So either I have to recapture it all, or I'll just take all the raw audio files and just sync it manually. Oh, don't apologize for your game before you've shown it to us. Feels like you're like, look at my game. It doesn't look good though. It's like, chill out. You know.
Yeah.
Also, this game, it's like a pixel art sort of game. It's not Watch Dogs where it's like, no, it's gonna have shinier puddles later on. People aren't worried about that at this scale of game. And then one thing about your end card, you have all your social media. No one's gonna follow any of that. Give them one, okay? Again, people like simple, they want a wish list button or something like that. I guess you're saying, well, you can follow me on your thing of choice, but it's still just looking at this card, it's very overwhelming. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if they're not focusing on any one of these things, then they're probably all pretty watered down. You know, try to give me like one really important one. And also for yourself, you should probably focus on one, maybe two avenues for your social media and marketing, because just you're a human being and you can only do so much.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. In general, what would you recommend for text and trailers? Like, is there any scenario where it makes sense to show gameplay and text at the same time?
Basically, if you're gonna have text on screen, you should be willing to have the gameplay be ignored. I think the gameplay should just be really, really, really simple, like an environment, or maybe just like one character walking across the screen.
Yeah.
But if it's like text, stuff going on here, then you're gonna run into trouble.
Huge shout out to everybody who was brave enough to send in their trailers, by the way. That's why I'd ask you to please keep your comments friendly, okay? We're here to help each other out.
Part of me wishes I didn't see the title of this trailer before going in, but I'm gonna pretend that I didn't. And my reaction is, what do you do in this game? The graphics are nice, and I can tell that you flip switches and move objects around, but I mean, it could just be some sort of sandbox game where that's it. You know, none of these things seem to be changing anything that's happening in the game. So yeah, just not enough cause and effect in this trailer.
So you feel like it would help, like, if you could see the cause-effect relationship between solving a puzzle and maybe a door opening or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, you could literally just have a switch get flipped and then see something moving that wasn't the player moving it, and then we'd be like, you flipped that switch and then that thing opened. That's really all you need. You don't need a whole lot of, like, you know, this thing, and that resulted in this thing. You just need one thing, flip this, move this, and then, you know, these liquids combine and explode or something like that. And also, there's that shot at the end where the glass is like fogged and then it slowly gets clear. There wasn't anything on the other side that I thought was interesting, so it was a lot of build up for nothing, it felt like. I was like, okay, is this gonna be the game's title or something? And then it's just like, oh, it's just the window's clean now. So it was a little bit anticlimactic. Also, there's no game audio. I'll hit that again, because it's, again, music montage. You see all these sort of nicely rendered, you know, glass tubes and stuff like that, but I'm not hearing anything, so it's very unsatisfying to not hear that. But I mean, the graphics look really cool, but I would love some game audio and just really just some cause and effect. Maybe some obstacles, like, I can't get into this room because of this. Something in there that makes it seem interesting, or a challenge, something that you're trying to solve. But
yeah, maybe something that helps you to understand the objective of what you're trying to achieve and the obstacles that are standing in your way to doing that.
Our next trailer starts out a little slowly, but I'd suggest you stick with it because it's really quite interesting. I'll play this one in its entirety, maybe use the time to think about what you would change if this were your trailer. So here we go.
That was really great. The sound and the ambience is really good. I think the things that could be fixed are some of the pacing and also some things related to the text. I think the text, if they could shorten it in some cases, like I basically had enough time to read everything, but it was just a little bit short. The thing I get from this is it's a game set in, well, let's just say 1984, because that's in the title. And you think it's a text adventure with visuals, but there's something else going on. When people are watching a game trailer, they are in a constant mode of, how does this game work? What is this game? And as soon as the trailer gives them enough of like one thing, they will usually think, okay, this is what the game is. I think that once we got into the like text adventure part, I think there wasn't enough of the, by the way, there's something else going on. I started thinking to myself, okay, maybe it is just a text adventure and this trailer is very stylized. I think that there needed to be a little bit more reminder during the text adventure of there's something weird going on. There's like another layer to this game other than just this text adventure with this CRT filter over it. I like the stylization of the date and the wish list on Steam thing, but I think if you could have made it shorter, quicker, then more people would see it.
What do you think about the opening?
Yeah, I think that it's very long, so I worry about people not continuing to watch it. If it's part of a live stream event and there's a captive audience, then be very suspenseful and I think effective. But on the scrolling through social media and YouTube, whatever, might have less of a chance of people continuing. This trailer, similar to the Escape Room one, needs some more cause and effect. Also, it needs to be faster paced. I understand it's about growing and maybe that fits, the music and the pace might fit that sort of growing grass sort of thing, but it shouldn't feel like you're watching grass grow. I think that a lot of the things that are said in text can be shown rather than using text to show it, because we can figure some of these things out. We see a blank thing, we see things being built upon it, we get it. And it's also, it's text for a thing that is plainly obvious, so that's even more frustrating. When you point out things in text that we can tell from just looking with our eyes, then it feels a little bit like you're saying, oh, you wouldn't have figured this out if I hadn't told you. And then me as the audience, I'm like, no, I would have. You don't need to like baby me through this.
As a rule of thumb, can you say you should only put text on the screen to explain stuff that you can't explain with the gameplay footage?
Absolutely. Editing is much about putting stuff in as it is taking things out. And I think a lot of people need to focus more on taking the things out, because again, we're going for clarity. And especially at the very end of the trailer there, we just kind of go through a whole bunch of bullet points, basically. Like these are probably bullet points on your Steam page, if you have a Steam page. And that's really not very interesting to read in video form. Also, there needs to be a little bit more incremental progress, especially at the beginning, because it just went from blank to finished, but we don't know how we got there until you showed us later on. I think it would have been good to maybe like a time lapse, which is especially popular this sort of game where you're building things. Maybe zoom in a little bit so then that you direct the eye again on the things that are important. Just having that same exact angle for the entire time with not a lot of movement and change can get kind of stale.
You're always a step ahead of me, because that was the next thing I was about to ask. How do you deal with like static footage if you have like very static looking game? But yeah, you already covered that pretty well.
Yeah, and if you're thinking oh no, my art assets don't hold up if I zoom in on the footage, my answer is, who cares?
So basically having a nice, interesting shot is more important than having super crisp and sharp footage at all times.
Quick note for this one, I had to replace the music because it got copyright claimed.
That's nice and simple. I think this probably could have been even shorter, because it seems like mechanically in this game there isn't too much complexity. It seems to be avoid the clouds and get the gems. I see the clouds do sort of like a poof thing, but if there was some sort of negative feedback sound to be like, no, you shouldn't hit those, then that would told me that yes, you're avoiding clouds for this reason. I appreciate the editing on the beat, has good energy to it, but also the intro could have been a little shorter too, because the thing with the intro with all the different planes at different heights, for a second I was thinking, oh, is this like a multiplayer racing game? Are we all playing together like asynchronously or something like that, and this person's in the lead? Because again, people are trying to figure out the game as soon as the trailer starts. But again, because this game doesn't have too much mechanically, at least from this trailer, make it even shorter.
Like, if people understood the game but they want to keep watching, can't they just keep watching? Or what's the disadvantage of having a little bit of a longer trailer?
Having a longer trailer where you repeat content is worse than having a shorter trailer where you don't. You might think to yourself, oh, but if it's really short, people think the game is short. And the thing I'll say is like, well, maybe it's actually just a really tightly edited trailer. Whereas if you have a long trailer where you repeat a lot of content, then people say, oh, they didn't have enough to fill 60 seconds. This must be a really small game. Like, it seems counterintuitive, but you have that plausible deniability if you have a short trailer that's really tight and interesting every step of the way. Yeah, that's pretty nice. So after that initial parking lot comes in, really nice. There's a bit of a lull before we get to the building, and the music's still going. It's still... Yeah, we get it, it's parking lot. You know, there's not a lot in this trailer in terms of just like variety. We get that you're building this mall. But the thing that you could mix up to make this a little bit more fun to watch, especially because you have this, you know, fun, exciting music, is just have things drop in not at the exact same speed the entire time. Have things maybe come in at the rate of the music, you know, you can kind of play with, think of it like a music. Also, having sound effects would be great. You know, cars like having a little honking sound when they land or something like that. You might run into territory where you're thinking, like, well, in the game it doesn't do that, which that's a fair point. But other than that, the concept is fine, and you get the point across, and everything else I'd say is good.
Yeah, I found this trailer especially interesting because I feel like you can tell that it's not gameplay footage. It's probably particularly made for this trailer.
Right.
But it still kind of gets the gameplay across in an interesting way. So
yeah, a really good example of a trailer sort of like this is the Planet Zoo trailer. They did a CG trailer, which, yeah, it's not gameplay, and that one, I mean, that one's very high production value. That they got this nice song, but they have nice little sound effects when like the road's being built. I would highly recommend you check that out and see what they do with that, just for some ideas.
Next up, I showed Derek the Karlson trailer in the hope that it would finally help me to expose and trailer shame Danny. So just so you know, Danny didn't send this in. I picked this for entertainment purposes.
Hello, Karlson. You're my prisoner and test subject. Ha 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 ha. Just kidding. Not really. This is your companion, Billy. Your only objective is to get to the milk as fast as you can. Well, good luck, and don't die. Let me introduce you to Billy's brother.
Yeah, no, that was super good. It was to the point. You got the story framing in like within the first 6-10 seconds, and then after that they just flat out said you're just trying to get this milk, and then they showed all the things that you need to do to get through that milk, and then why they're interesting. They had a lot of variety. They had the grappling hook and the shooting the guns, and it's really nicely like cut on the beat. For the most part, I think there's maybe like one part of the trailer where they didn't cut on the beat. I think towards the end, where they like do like a rocket jump sort of thing before going up. I think that shot wasn't on the beat, and to have the whole trailer be like really in sync and on the beat, and then have one towards the end where it's not, it's very unsatisfying.
After further video analysis, I can say it was actually perfectly on beat. Just the sound was a little late. Look at that. Absolutely exposed, man. Like, the sound is like 2 frames late.
But other than that, really, really, really good. Great energy to the whole thing, and the really good use of like the game audio and the guns as basically like percussion. Like, that's the sort of thing that you see a lot in like Battlefield trailers and Call of Duty, where either the music drops out and then it's like, you know, it's really well done. And yeah, I understand the game. The art, it's pretty simple, but it's very appealing and good. Really, how long was that trailer?
1 minute 30.
Okay.
And the end card comes in after 1 minute, or the title of the game.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that felt really tight. It felt like nothing was wasted. Things were repeated just enough to understand what's going on. The only other criticism I would have is if you're going to have that date on that end card, have that in as soon as possible, not after wishlist on Steam for 5-10 seconds, because no one's going to see that date. So just, it's okay, have both of them at the same time, because again, if you want information to be known, don't put it at the end of a YouTube video. Get it in as soon as possible. But yeah, that was really tight, well edited, good music, and capture is great. Yeah.
I also wanted to watch at least one of the trailers Derek made, so we picked the Firewatch Switch trailer. Let's just see how this one looks and then question Derek a little bit about it. Here we go.
How'd you get fired and wind up in jail all on your first day, Henry? I thought it'd be a good idea to chuck some Roman candles into a smoldering fire pit. A regular forest burns.
Hello, Two Forks Tower.
Hello? Whoever this is?
It's Henry, right?
Yeah.
I'm Delilah.
So, what should I do now? What's next?
What's next is you sit in that room until September 1st and call me at the first sign of smoke. So, what's wrong with you?
Excuse me?
People take this job to get away from something. So, what's wrong?
Everything's fine, just getting some fresh air.
Well, escaping isn't always something bad.
Someone broke in.
Hey, what?
They wrecked the place. Threw my typewriter out the window.
Do you have any idea who would have done this? Henry, I've been at this job for 13 years, and nothing like this has ever happened before.
Maybe I'm just losing my mind.
I need you to feel safe out here.
Well, I sure don't now.
You will. I promise.
That one's a lot of fun to watch, or fun to edit, because I got to use Chris Remo's music that he made for the reveal teaser, which is made for a trailer, so that's why it's a really good like slow burn at the beginning, and then nice climax at the end. Yeah, this one I really like, this cold open, because I think it's funny. Just the shot of him holding fireworks in front of a fire, where that instantly sort of sets up a question, or at least that was my idea, to be like, well, is he gonna do it? Is he not gonna do it? And then
Yeah.
He does it. I usually use that opening as an example of like how you can like act through game capture. The first thing I'm trying to find are, what are all the things that the player does that are unique? So a good way to think of this is with point-and-click adventure games, because in point-and-click adventure games you do a lot of like picking up of things, and that's probably the same animation every time. But there are those moments in adventure games where you have a unique animation for this one particular thing, usually because you solve a puzzle. So I, as a trailer editor, am looking for all of those unique moments and just putting them into this trailer, so then that there's as little repetition as possible.
So how long did it take you to make that trailer?
I honestly don't remember how long it took to edit that Firewatch trailer. Usually 2 to 3 weeks or something like that. Maybe
Including
less,
including the capture?
Yeah.
Can I ask how expensive it is to let a professional make a trailer for you? You don't have to give me your personal rates or anything,
Sure.
but like just a rough number, what people could expect.
I usually tell people, well, if you're gonna hire me, then expect to spend at least several $1,000s. There's some places actually in Poland, which when I've given out information like roughly about my rates, they're like, whoa, I wouldn't think about charging more than like $1,000 for a trailer. I've heard as low as like 500 in some cases. Some other people might be more like, 3,000 to 5,000 or 3,000, especially if they're getting started. But if you're gonna want to work with someone who has like much more experience, then I would say expect to spend at least several thousand. For this trailer, I was waiting basically for the shot that happened somewhere in the middle, which was the actual game camera angle. Every new shot that wasn't that shot frustrated me because it seems like it's a slow intro and it's very story focused, but only really the first few shots are sort of story focused with the title cards and everything like that. There wasn't enough story in there for me to care about the story section, basically. Like if you want to start off with story, then give me a story. But if it's just like a slow intro where it's sort of like this character sort of pensively looking about, not really giving me any information about the world or the character, then it's basically dead air. You know, you followed up with the like environment shots, which is also very typical many game trailers, which is why I made a whole video saying don't do that. Basically, the environments are only interesting if we know what happens in the environment, and we don't know that until the middle to the late part of the trailer. So we don't know why it's interesting there's fire jets here, because we don't even know how you move around the world. And then once we get to the gameplay, this part it's fine, but it gets repetitive after a while. We see that, okay, it's platforming, there seems to be some bit of a bullet hell elements to it with dodging the fire.
Yeah.
And you might think, well, it's only 20 seconds of gameplay. It's like, yes, it's 20 seconds of gameplay, but the expectation of a trailer is new stuff all the time. And if you're like, I'll give you the same thing for a while, you're like, okay, well, that's what they're gonna give me, so I'll watch this other video here. And there is game audio in there, but also there's no game audio for when the projectiles hit enemies, so that made that feel very empty. You hear it being shot, but then you don't know if they're being impacted until they die. So that's just a game design thing, but that's a reason it's good to make trailers and think about trailers, because then you pick up on these things like, oh wait, there's no feedback here for the audience.
So the trailer would probably been better off if it were just 1 minute or maybe even 45 seconds or something like that instead of 2 minutes.
Yeah, was that 2 minutes?
Yeah, that was 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'd say, you know, a minute would have probably been a good amount of time, unless there is more story to show. But even then, if the gameplay variety is not terribly diverse, then just keep it short. I have one really, really easy bit of feedback. Just cut out the subtitles. Just get rid of them all. Because first of all, again, we're dividing attention. Visuals up here, subtitles down here. People cannot not read subtitles. They can, but they're gonna want to read them regardless. And the visuals and the sound and everything, I think, are really good. I think the trailer probably could have been a little bit shorter, but I think if you just cut out all the subtitles, because while I was watching this, I was just thinking, are these visuals and text in this like main part of the trailer enough for me to be interested? And yes, I think so.
Just as an experiment, here's a quick section without any subtitles.
The dialogue, it's not adding enough to make me think, yes, this is necessary, because the visuals do so much in terms of like teasing the story. There's a lot of really cool images in there, so I think you can easily just cut out all those subtitles. And more nitpicky at the end, you just should have, again, one call to action, maybe two, but you had the Blogspot website and the Facebook. Maybe cut out the Facebook. My friend who does PR marketing says people should not have game websites unless they're trying to make like a really nice presentation for like a publisher or a financier of some sort, because a website is just extra friction between the trailer and the store page, and you want people on the store page. So if it's on itch.io or Steam or something like that, just point them directly there. I'm sure your website, you put work into it and everything, but we don't really care. We want them on the store page, and you can, you know, put all the work that you would put on the website into the store page, put all your bullet points and your GIFs and everything like that there. That's the work.
That brings me to one of the other questions I really wanted to ask you, which was, how many trailers does a game need, and when is the best time to make a trailer for your game?
The best time to start thinking about your trailer is when you're thinking of game ideas. There was an interview on NoClip with Lucas Pope, who did Papers, Please, and he says that he actually thinks about trailers when he's thinking of game ideas, because if he can't think of how it would make a trailer, then he doesn't approach it, which...
Oh, wow.
Obviously, not everyone should do that, because that means certain games would not exist. Because if everyone thought that way, there'd probably be no MOBAs. So at least announce trailer and launch trailer. But if it's small game, then just one trailer.
I was wondering, how do you make sure that both of those trailers have like a lot of impact, but doesn't feel like it's the same trailer again?
Generally, I will say the announced trailer is the big idea, the big elevator pitch idea, and that's it. Hopefully that's interesting enough for people to say, that game where you played this, or that game where time moves when you move. You need that really top level idea communicated. Announce is idea, and then launch is content, overall structure sort of thing.
Maybe a good follow-up question that I saw in the comments when I asked for people to send me their trailers was, how do you get more people to see your trailer? Like, is that something that happens naturally? Is there something you can do to get your trailer out there?
That's the $1 million question. If I could answer that, I'd charge way more. But I mean, to be honest, I don't completely know the ways to get people to watch your trailer, because that deals with maybe like the format of your tweet that has the trailer. It could be contacting press to say, hey, new trailer. And usually when people ask that sort of question, I say you need to talk to a PR marketing strategy person who is the person who thinks about these sorts of things. I pretty much just think about how good the trailer is and how to make the trailer good once people are watching it. But it's a really, really big topic, because also it can go all the way down to the fundamental design of the art or something like that. People like to click on pretty things, and if your art's not super great, then you're already kind of sabotaging your trailer in advance. And I mean, you might think to yourself, well, but Untitled Goose Game, it went viral, it went crazy, so mine will be like that. And my answer is, it's probably not. I was actually on I was talking to one of the people from House recently, and he was talking about how specifically when they're designing games, they are thinking about the spectator experience when doing that. And that really makes a lot of sense when you look at Untitled Goose Game, because just from watching that game, you know everything about it, and not all games can say that. Coming out with a new game and a new trailer, it is like a stand-up comedy club. It's open mic night, and no one's ever seen you perform, and it's a hostile environment. I've performed at open mics before, where no one knows what you are, and you cannot waste time. You need to make people laugh right away, or in game trailer terms, you need to make people interested right away. Otherwise, they're just gonna click the next thumbnail on the side and move on with their life.
As a YouTuber, I can confirm, like, it's like that with every video nowadays. If you don't hook people right from the beginning, they're out. Even more so with trailers, probably.
Yeah, if you think it's a hostile environment out there, it is probably far worse than you think. So don't waste time with logos especially.
Unfortunately, I had to let Derek go at some point. I'll do a little speed round now because I want to show a couple more of your game trailers. I'll give you my personal feedback.
So if you liked anything that I had to say today, I have a weekly newsletter where I give out game trailer tips, whatever's on my head that week. Just go to gametrailertips.com and you'll get something every Sunday about game trailers, whether it's about having too much text on screen, whether it's about capture. And also, if you email me just something that you're interested in, I can usually send you a link to something I wrote before, or maybe I'll make it a topic of a future one.
Thanks for coming onto the show, Derek. We appreciate it. The opening looks very cute. There are just a lot of wasted seconds that don't teach me anything about gameplay. Still no gameplay. Now here's where gameplay starts finally. That is a little too late in my opinion. Actually, no, hold on. This is where gameplay starts. Here, this should come a lot earlier. There's a little bit of information overload on the screen, so I'd suggest removing the unnecessary parts of the UI. If I don't need something to understand your game, simply don't show it. It's as simple as that. Showing the shop is fine for me. Maybe you could have edited this to the beat of the music to make this a little more interesting. Now, here's the first time where we actually kind of understand that this is a tower defense game. That seems a little bit late. Then here, once again, lots of unnecessary UI on the screen. Just remove that for the trailer. That makes the shots a lot clearer. Actually, I really like the art style though. Looks very nice. I would play this. I'm down, honestly. Yeah, this looks very fun. This trailer grabs you right from the beginning with some amazing shots. Note how the entire trailer is basically organized like a tutorial. It starts out by showing you a couple of simple things you can do, makes everything fairly easy to understand, and then expands on the concept step by step. Like, after watching this trailer, you know exactly what you'll get when you buy the game. And that is actually a good thing, because that allows people to make an informed decision if they want to buy your game or not. I don't have any evidence for this, but I'm like 99% sure that an informed customer is way more likely to buy your game than somebody who's like, well, what is this game? I don't understand this. But you can not physically watch this trailer without understanding what it's about. It's like so plainly obvious. It has a pretty good humor and it's very fun to watch. I like this one a lot. This one I would say solved the problem of having a static playing field quite well. There are a lot of custom camera shots in there, which I really like. Unfortunately, the trailer doesn't really make it clear what the game is all about. Like, you can kind of guess that it's probably a turn-based game about boats, but any more than that? Not really sure. And then of course sound effects would have been nice, but I will look past that because this is probably still in development. First thing I'm thinking here is, do we really need that heart in the corner? Do we really need to know how many lives the player has? Do we need that text at the bottom? Probably not, you know? Also, that arrow, does that need to be in the trailer? I personally feel like it's a little bit of an immersion breaker for me. And here, that is very intriguing. Now I was expecting a big drop and rise in tension, but it just keeps going, like nothing has changed. Yeah, so after the black there I was expecting some intense music. Yeah, here, this section is really cool though. I like this section a lot. I don't even know exactly why. I think it communicates the feeling of getting lost really well for me. It looks like a labyrinth. The only thing I'm worried about is that it kind of looks like local multiplayer. Maybe some people could misunderstand this. Now a little bit of a long break here where people might click off actually. Overall, I definitely liked it. Thanks a lot for sending it in. This game has a pretty cool premise that the entire game is on a single screen, and this right here is the money shot in my opinion, so I'm really confused why you only show that for such a short amount of time. Then we have the apparent lack of sound effects, which seems to be a very, very common thing in trailers. I kinda like that the text has its own screens that makes it easy to read and to focus on. Maybe you could have zoomed in a little bit here and there to add a little bit of variety to the trailer. And then this is where I think the trailer could have ended, but it keeps going for a little bit. Now this game was apparently made by a solo developer, which absolutely blows my mind. The trailer is a masterpiece, so a great way to close off this video. I really hope you learned something useful about the art of making game trailers, and I'll see you all in the next one.